Sometimes a single event, like a jailbreak, can just rip the whole facade off an institution. It exposes all the problems that have been hiding right under the surface for years. So today, we're not just looking at an escape. We're going to look at the evidence that puts the Bibb County Law Enforcement Center itself on trial. Okay, let's get into it.
It all kicks off right here, October 2023. 4 inmates, one of them facing a murder charge, just vanished from the Bibb County Jail. It made huge headlines, started a massive manhunt that went on for a month. And yeah, it sounds like a pretty dramatic escape story. But as you're about to see, the real drama wasn't the escape. It was the years of neglect that made it all possible.
Because this wasn't some genius, sophisticated plan. No, the real story here is about what had been literally breaking down inside the jail's walls for a very, very long time.
So let's start with the event that lit the fuse for this whole thing, the jailbreak, and something as basic as a bunch of broken locks.
So how'd they do it? Was it some kind of elaborate plot? Nope. The documents we've looked at show the cause was way more mundane and, honestly, a lot more alarming. It was the widespread, chronic failure of the jail's 40-year-old magnetic door locks. The inmates literally just pushed a gate until it popped open.
And here's the thing. This was not a surprise. It wasn't some sudden system failure. The documents allege that the county administration knew the locks were failing for a significant period of time. So this wasn't just a maintenance problem. It was a known, documented risk they were sitting on.
Which, of course, leads to the big question, right? If everybody knew this was a huge risk to public safety and the security of the jail, why on earth wasn't it fixed sooner? Well, to answer that, you got to follow the money.
And that money trail leads us straight to our next section, where we're going to explore some powerful financial incentives that might have been at play here.
$2 million. That's a lot of money. And it's the amount that was eventually approved to finally fix those failing locks and upgrade security.
But, and this is the crucial part, this money was only approved after those 4 inmates were already gone. And check out where the money came from. The sheriff's commissary fund. So, what exactly is that?
Okay, so the commissary fund is basically where all the money from inmate purchases goes. For things like snacks, toiletries, that kind of stuff. And it's not small change. We're talking about a fund that generates over $1.1 million every single year. In fact, internal documents literally call it a revenue engine. That tells you it's being seen less like a service for inmates and a lot more like a profit center. And if you need more proof of that, look no further than this. What we're looking at here is a 2020 contract with the company called Securus. They provide tablet services to the inmates. And this contract guarantees the sheriff's office a 50% commission on premium content, things like games and movies. And yeah, that's Sheriff David Davis's signature, right there on the dotted line. But this story isn't just about money and broken down buildings. As we're about to see, this story has a tragic and very real human cost. 10. Since 2020, that's the number of people who have died in custody at the Bibb County Jail.
Now, according to the official reports, 6 of those 10 deaths were ruled as suicides by hanging. But when you start to look closer at the details from the source documents, this really disturbing and frankly deeply troubling paradox starts to emerge.
This is a direct quote from a civil rights complaint filed by a man named Stephen Faircloth. He's basically saying the official story of how these people died is physically impossible. He says, quote, "The jail doesn't issue bed sheets and the blankets are too thick to tie in a knot, much less tie it to a sprinkler head."
So think about this. On one side, you have the official report, suicide by bedsheet. But on the other, you have these powerful claims from inside the jail saying, wait a minute, we don't even get bed sheets. And on top of that, the sprinkler heads couldn't hold a person's weight anyway. This massive contradiction raises some really serious questions about what's actually going on inside that jail. Now, when questions like that come up, you'd hope for some clear evidence to find out the truth, right? Well, that's where the next part of this story begins, a pattern of crucial evidence that just seems to disappear. A theme you see again and again throughout these documents is this. In multiple, really critical incidents, we're talking about use of force or even deaths, the body-worn camera footage, the BWC footage that policy requires to exist, it just doesn't. It's gone. And listen, this isn't some isolated one-time mistake. The sources point to a very clear pattern. Back in 2019, key footage from the Macon Inn incident went missing. In 2022, a sergeant just failed to record multiple interactions. And it happens again in 2024 when a captain claims no footage exists from a meeting, even though policies say it should.
So what's the result of all this missing footage? Well, the documents say it perfectly. It allows inconsistent narratives about force and injuries to persist unchecked. I mean, without the video, it's just one person's word against another's. The truth becomes nearly impossible to figure out.
So you take the broken locks, the profit motive, the unexplained deaths, the missing footage. What do you have? How does it all come together? Well, it builds a very specific type of legal case, a textbook example, really, that isn't just against one person, but against the entire institution.
And that case is built on a legal concept called Monell liability. It sounds complicated, but the gist is pretty simple. It's a way to hold an entire government body, like a county or a sheriff's office, responsible when you can prove that it was their official policy or just a widespread custom that led to someone's constitutional rights being violated. It's not about just one bad apple, it's about the whole orchard.
This table really just lays it all out, piece by piece. It's the classic pattern and practice case. You've got the systemic failure of unsafe conditions, with the evidence being the broken locks, leading to escapes and deaths. Then you have the profit-driven jail, evidenced by the commissary fund and that Securus contract, allegedly leading to delayed repairs. Third, the failure to supervise, shown by that disturbing bedsheet suicide paradox. And finally, evasion of oversight, with the clear pattern of missing camera footage, which results in, you guessed it, a total lack of accountability.
When you put all this evidence together, from the locks to the footage, it builds a powerful case that these aren't just a series of isolated incidents, but symptoms of a broken system. And it really leaves us with one final and pretty critical question. When the very systems that are designed to provide justice seem to be the ones fostering these conditions, who then is ultimately responsible for holding them accountable?